I've been running the iPhone 13 Pro and this is the Max variant for just over a week, and I'm finally ready to give you guys kind of my first impression / review after just a week. So long story short, absolutely love this device. It's been amazing in terms of battery life, the screen, the camera's been a major improvement, but with any device, it is definitely far from perfect. So today's video, we're gonna go ahead and talk about some of the things that I absolutely love, and we're gonna talk about the things that I'm not too much of a fan of. 3 pros, 3 cons. You guys know how we get down over here on the channel. But before we get into it, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, this is Ike's Tech Talk, where we cover the latest in tech news, reviews, and discussion. If that's something that you're interested in, do yourself a favor, hit that like and subscribe button down below. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So the first pro I want to get into has to be 120 Hertz, aka ProMotion. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Apple did it first or Apple invented it or that they're even doing it the best. All I know is that when I go to reach for my device, turn it on and start scrolling and using the display, it's working flawlessly. It's super smooth and it's super fluid. And while I'd argue that yes, a lot of the other experience I've had on Android with the 120 Hertz has been faster in terms of scrolling, but when it comes to overall fluidity, my iPhone 13 Pro Max has felt more fluid than any of those devices. And for me personally, fluidity beats out speed any day of the week. Now, I know that there's a bit of controversy in terms of the 120 Hertz panel, just being that some third-party apps aren't taking full advantage of it, and even Apple themselves have some bugs and things of that nature that they need to iron out with it. And to be honest, even with that being the case, when I go to use it, mostly in social media or scrolling through YouTube or whatever the case may be, I'm finding it. I also run a Pixel 5, which has a 90 Hertz panel, and I can definitely say with 100% certainty that the display rate is definitely above 90, as I can feel the difference between those two devices. So while Apple may not keep it at 120 all the time, it's definitely higher than 90, and it's gonna go ahead and get into the next pro for this device, which has to be that battery life. So speaking about that battery life, it's nothing short of amazing, the battery life I've been able to get from the iPhone 13 Pro Max. In all honesty, even on the iPhone 13 Pro that I was rocking before I got the Max in, I was still getting crazy screen on times and crazy off the charger times. I'm talking for a device that has about a 3200 milliamp hour battery to be getting 8.5, 9 hours of screen on time, and my usage is crazy to me. It's crazy. And the 13 Pro Max even takes that a step further. With the 13 Pro Max, there's been very few phones that I've used that have made me change the way that I charge a device. With OnePlus devices and foreign devices, I find that them having quick charge features makes me not have to think about charging the device nearly as much because it's a quick top off. Whereas with the iPhone, it's the reverse end of the spectrum, where the battery lasts so long, I don't have to think about charging it. I literally plug it in when I get into my car using CarPlay, and by the time I get out of my car, I'm usually sitting at about 75% or so before the night's out, and I just don't charge it overnight. I don't feel the need to. The phone lasts for days. And in all honesty, that's probably the best praise I can give to a smartphone. To have a battery that, just like the Energizer Bunny, keeps going and going and going and going. Now, getting into the last pro has to be the camera set. So the camera set on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max are exactly the same. So regardless if you go with the Pro or you go with the Max, you're gonna end up with the same set in terms of camera performance and camera features. Now, not only did Apple increase and make the actual photo output better, I'm gonna throw some examples here of some photos that I took, that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. So not only is the output just generally better whenever I'm taking normal shots, but also Apple decided to add a few more fun features to the camera set. iPhones, in my opinion, in the past have been known for having pretty boring cameras. Like, they get the job done, they do a great job, but they just don't have a lot of fun features. I think Apple decided to take that criticism to heart and kind of give us a bone a little bit to say. So you're looking at features such as the addition of a macro lens, which can take a photo looking like this to a photo looking like this, and you can see the zoom on there and it's still super detailed. You're also looking at cinematic mode, which is Apple's version of portrait video. It does have a few extra tidbits over what you come to expect from portrait video from the Android side, but overall, this is a feature, in my opinion, it definitely still needs some work. It's not fully there, and I can't wait for the day where I can shoot this in, say, 4K 24 or 4K 30 frames per second to get that extra quality and extra resolution. Also, the cutout could definitely use a little bit of work as well, but that's neither here nor there. It's just good to see Apple including these types of features, whether they're 100% fully fleshed out or not. The last photo feature that I want to talk about has to be photogenic styles. Now, the reason why I want to bring so much focus to this particular feature is because it's not getting enough coverage. People are kind of writing these off as just filters on the device, whereas these photogenic styles are actually changing the entire processing of the photos that you're taking. So when you go to snap a photo and you're using that rich contrast mode or that vibrant mode, it's completely changing the processing to give you a photo that looks, in terms of the rich contrast, something more akin to what you would get with a Pixel. And then on that vibrant side, something that you would get more akin to a Samsung device. So in my opinion, we always talk about Apple not really giving too many pro features. This, in my opinion, is definitely something that I could see a lot of pros taking advantage of, as it allows them to get the exact camera output that they're looking for their photos. Less work in post, as it does all of this before you even take the shot. Overall, this year in terms of camera jumps has been pretty significant, whether it gets the due coverage or not. But all in all, camera update on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max is a major win for me. Now, switching over to the cons. So to start off right where we left off with the camera. So for the life of me, I still don't understand why Apple still has this issue when it comes to these reflective orbs in the camera. Now, I know, don't stop me. I know other manufacturers and other smartphones have this same issue. I get it. But for some reason on the iPhone, it seems way more distracting and way more pronounced. I'm gonna try to see if I can get some footage of it versus the 12 Pro Max, and while it does seem to be improved versus the 12 Pro Max, it's definitely still distracting, and I notice it when I'm going from, say, my S21 Ultra back to the iPhone for video or for pictures. Overall, I think that this is a hardware issue, being as though so many manufacturers still have this issue, and I can't wait for the day where we can just kind of eliminate the reflection all in all, whether we can do it through software or some brand new hardware to stop it from happening altogether. The next con, in my opinion, has to be no Touch ID. Now, I know a lot of people don't care for Touch ID, don't like it, they think Face ID is better. Whatever the case may be, that's fine. I don't think Touch ID or Face ID is inherently better. I think that they both have their pros and cons and their uses. And whenever I'm wearing a mask, granted, I do have an Apple Watch, there's plenty of Apple users who don't want to wear an Apple Watch. They prefer to wear a normal watch, like a Rolex or a Boulevard or whatever the case may be. And whenever you're doing that and you're having to wear a mask, you literally have to punch in your pin every single time, which is an issue that we solved all the way back with the iPhone 5S bringing in Touch ID. So I don't know if it's just an issue with Apple just not wanting to give that option, whatever the case may be. But even if Apple just put it on the power button, and case manufacturers left that side of the case or that little button cutout open so you could access the fingerprint scanner, that would be more than fine. But having no fingerprint scanner in a world where we're still in a pandemic, Apple, you gotta bring that back in some way, shape, or form. If you can't get it under the display, give it to us on the power button at the very least. If you wanna kind of, substitute all of it, just give us a Face ID sensor that's just as secure and can read our faces while we still have our mask on. If you can figure out the technology needed in order to do that, then by all means, let's get that. But getting into our smartphones while we're masked up and staying safe is more important than ever. Now, moving on to the last con, and it has to do specifically with the Pro Max variant of the iPhones. Now, in my opinion, whether you use the 13 Pro or the 13 Pro Max, you get no software features that take advantage of this huge display. This display is 6.7 inches, yet we still don't have a way to, say, split screen multitask or just do more. And I get it, some people don't use those features. I don't always use those features when I'm on Android, but the fact that on my Galaxy S21 Ultra, it does so much of a better job taking advantage of that bigger screen, and Apple just needs to take note. I should buy the Pro Max variant of iPhone for more than just a bigger battery and a display for when I'm watching content. Give us some software features, even if you do things like just give us an extra row of icons, maybe throw the battery percentage in the top right. I'm all for consistency across your product line, but when you have a phone as big as the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the experience is exactly the same against the iPhone 13 Pro, which is substantially smaller, something's got to change there. So Apple, just give us some type of features to take advantage of the display being as large as it is. All right, guys, so that was my 1 week impression slash review of the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max. But as always, guys, I want to know what you think, as I've been thoroughly enjoying my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and to be honest, it's gonna take the Pixel 6 Pro to be quite a monster and a beast on all fronts to get this thing out of my pocket. It's currently my favorite phone that I own, and like I said, man, Apple did some pretty major things that I don't think that enough people are really giving them credit for. So wanted to give Apple a little bit of praise, but also highlight those things that need to be improved. But drop me down a comment below and let me know what you guys think. If you own the 13 Pro, if you have one, what's your experience been like? How are you liking it? How are you disliking it? Whatever the case may be. But as always, this is Ike's Tech Talk. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.